What is up, everybody? We are here once again, another edition of the Zero Hour, a very special edition of the Zero Hour. We've got our normal crew here, minus a few, but Tim Loy, co owner and matchmaker of Aries Fight Series, our own degenerate gambler himself, Greg Hopkins. But the reason why this is special, guys, if you check over that left side in the bottom left corner, we have Cody Saftic, our premier handicapper, if you will, a guy that we all turn to when we're looking for some hot tips in the world of sports betting and gambling. Cody, thank you so much for joining us, my man.
Hey, man, love fights, love gambling. And again, the fact that you guys now have the ability to place wagers on your product, I think that's only awesome. Just being able to grow out the organization. And yeah, man, this is where I specialize. I love being able to just consume as much mixed martial arts as possible. You guys got an awesome little 3 pro fights here. And yeah, just can't wait to jump into them.
Tim, you've got to be excited, man. This is your guy. This is when I need a tip and I go to you, Tim, you always refer me to Cody. So this has got to be a big day for you, man.
I love it, man. Cody, is in my opinion, he's the premier sports or MMA handicapper out there right now. Really, always has great hot takes. Does his homework. Does the legwork to do the film study here, and so I'm excited to have him break down our pro fights because from a wagering perspective, give some tips out there to our viewers because watching us on here, we all have, I'm not saying we have biases or anything like that, but we work with these guys much closer. So having that kind of outside, point of view from someone that, doesn't even live around here, Cody's in Canada, so it gives it a real cool feel. Greg, I know you are also a big Cody Saftic fan. We watch his videos every week. So I know you're stoked too.
Absolutely. Huge, almost fanboyed out when you told me that Cody was coming because I watch it religiously every week. Thursday when I get up in the morning, boom, I'm watching the Dogger Pass. There I am. I'm watching Cody Saftic every week. So happy you're here with us, and I am stoked. I always love hearing your breakdowns. I love following your prop bets. Your Curtis bets have been killing it lately. Been winning off of those, but can't wait to hear what you got to say about these three coming right here. I love the breakdowns. Can't wait to hear them.
All right, and all the verbal knob goblin, I guess, aside, let's move on to the fights, guys. We've got 3 to break down for y'all tonight. Of course, first off, if you would give us a like and a subscribe so you can get notifications whenever we post new content, interviews, all the fights will be posted here after the fact as well. We're going to be using the projected odds for Action 24/7 Sportsbook. They also, BetMGM also has the odds. So we've got totals, we've got sides, and let's jump into it. We got 3 pro fights. We kick things off with lightweights. It's Dreyon Martin taking on Pat Crumpton. Pat Crumpton 3-1 coming into this out of Nashville MMA, Nashville, Tennessee. Dreyon Martin record not as stellar, 1-7 coming to us from Martinsville, Virginia, but is coming off a boxing win here. So a little bit of momentum with a win over Jeremy Mitchell coming into this. Quick take from Greg, and then I'd love to get Cody's breakdown on this one. The odds here, we'll say the odds on this one. They're fairly long. It's minus 800 for Mr. Pat Crumpton with a plus 550 return on Dreyon Martin. A total is set at 1.5. You get minus 140 on the under, even money on the over. Greg, quick take.
Just a quick take on it. I enjoy watching Patrick Crumpton fight. Can't wait to see him go against Dreyon Martin. Dreyon Martin doesn't have the most stellar record, but does have that win over Jeremy Mitchell, like you said, which makes me think that he has been working on his game a good bit. But, Patrick Crumpton coming off that win with Justin Watson here lately, that was under a minute right there. So I ventured to maybe look at the under or over on this fight, not so much a play on the money line, but other than that, Dreyon Martin can show us what he's got against Patrick Crumpton. I got, Patrick, edging in this fight right here.
Cody, your take. Not a lot of meat on the bone here on the money line, obviously.
Yeah, minus 800, what can you really do with it? I think most of it, I expect Patrick Crumpton to go out there and get the job done. I'm actually really impressed with what I see out of him. He's 32 years old, which would be a little bit older for someone who's just got a 3-1 pro record, but if you look back at that Kellen Van Camp fight, which is his only pro loss, I scored the fight for him personally. Now he takes the fight over in Kentucky. Kellen Van Camp is already 6-0 for the Hard Knocks organization, and in fact, he was their featherweight champion. So the fact that one of the judges scored at 30-27 Van Camp is everything you need to know. 8 takedowns from Crump in that fight, and you see that he's a very physically strong guy. BJJ purple belt, he does his best work when he's on top. He's able to just maintain control. Against Van Camp, he's got to deal with scrambles. He's got to deal with the triangle choke attempts. He's got to deal with an opponent that keeps getting back up. Against Dreon Martin, I'm not sure I see it going exactly like that. Now, if you're Crump, you've got to fight with Dreon Martin. He's actually got another scheduled fight with Will Worley 5 weeks from now. So going out there and throwing hands against a professional boxer, that's not the path to victory. If he goes out and executes a little bit of ring IQ, he'll go out, he'll shoot the takedown, double leg up against the cage. That seems to be his favorite position. From there, I see him moving to side control, knee slide over to full mount. And then from full mount, a little bit of ground and pound, open up the rear naked choke, and then try to hunt that. So again, at -800, what can we do? Well, we can use them as parlay material if we're looking to make maybe a little parlay between the 3 fights on the card. But beyond that, let's look at that over-under, right? The under 1.5, -140. What I like about that is when you look at Dreon Martin, 8 pro fights, all 8 of them have hit the under. When you look at his amateur record, 19 amateur fights, 16 of them hit the under. Of course, amateur fights are only 3-minute rounds. So I don't think this thing's probably going to last all that long. Again, when you look at Martin, the last time he finished an opponent was 3 years ago. So the puncher's chance not quite there. Crump's never been knocked out. Shin's pretty good. You know, Kellen in the Van Camp fight, he took some good shots, heavy shots, but he's able to absorb everything and just keep trucking through. And that's what I like about him, good perseverance. That perseverance should allow him to get the fight to the ground, his wheelhouse, and hopefully open up a submission, something that Dreon Martin has been susceptible in the past. Now, when you look at Dreon Martin's boxing career, it does look like, hey, he is taking it seriously. He's showing up in good shape. He's showing new wrinkles to his game, but that's pro boxing. And in fact, he's been spending most of his time in a pro boxing gym, so I don't know how much his grappling is really going to be shored up all that much. If it stays standing, yeah, he's a live dog for sure. Puncher's chance for sure. I would think Crump takes the path of least resistance, and that's taking this fight to the ground. So I got Crump's parlay material, and of course, the under 1.5 at -140.
I like it. Jeff, any take on this one?
Nah, he hit the nail on the head right there. You know, obviously we look at this thing a little differently, being owners and just kind of for more entertainment value on our end. But you know, he expressed my thoughts exactly when it would come to, you know, if I were an outsider looking in, where I would be looking as well.
Co-main event. Now this one, more or less a pick 'em, very, very short odds, -120 on Alex Riggs, another lightweight fight with Andrew Havener coming back at even money. Very interesting total on this one, even money over under 1.5, which kind of struck me as maybe something to have a look at. Alex Riggs, 2-3, representing Shield Systems locally here in Knoxville, Tennessee, after moving out this way from Middle Tennessee with a former team, Warriors Den, now taking on Andrew Havener. Pro debut out of the Nice Guy submission fighting in Evansville, Indiana. There's some tricky grapplers. Greg, your take on this co-main?
Good co-main here. It's a good kind of a yin-yang matchup here with Havener was going to want to obviously take it to the ground, but, you know, Riggs has got the stand-up game, and he's pretty crisp on it right there. But the power from Andrew I can see coming in. Like I said, it's a yin-yang matchup right here. I can see Riggs maybe getting a KO here. I can see Havener getting a submission on the ground. But, I mean, Riggs is no slouch on the ground either. So I'm just curious. This is a really, really good matchup here, Tim. Another one that I may be looking at an under again, but I really just don't have a strict, strong lean. I'd like to, you know, hear it from this man right here.
Yeah, let's hear it, Cody.
This is an excellent matchup, and I think for me personally, it came down to a dog or pass situation. Is that you're going to pay a little bit of extra juice in the -135 for Riggs versus the comeback on the even money versus Andrew Havener. What it comes down to, how good do we think Havener's BJJ is? Because yes, another guy that's a BJJ purple belt, and he does have a bit of an extensive grappling resume. I mean, he's competed both locally and a couple decent state tournaments, and his brother as well is a good grappler. So that's something that's definitely going to run deep with him. When you look at his amateur career, I mean, he started fighting in 2009, went 5-0 to start off, and that's when things start to falter. He starts fighting less frequently, and then we just haven't seen enough from him. Alexander Riggs, meanwhile, he trains with some of the best guys in the state. I mean, I wouldn't say a professional training partner, but he's one of those guys, as a Scott Holtzman, as somebody that's grinding in the gym day to day. You love to have an Alex Riggs in the gym because he's going to push you. He's going to give you rounds. He's going to give you a body to work with, and that's someone that's going to get better in those rounds. And I think that's Riggs. He's a go-getter. He's making improvements to his overall game, but he definitely struggles in the takedown defense. Once he gets taken down, now he's got to work with against the grappling. In Havner's case, he's the better grappler. When I look back at, say, the Keith Olson fight, it's the outside trip both times. And the outside trip's easy money. Once he takes him down, he's able to hold him down, ground him, and kind of take Riggs out of his element. You guys talked about Riggs having the striking advantage, and I do believe he does have it. But the key here is he's going to have to survive a first round. I see this fight going down. Havner probably shoots from the outside, gets the fight to the ground, and then tries to submit Riggs in the first round. If Riggs is able to survive, then he, listen, I've survived for 5 minutes on the ground with this guy already. I've seen some of his tricks. I've seen some of his moves. Now you got to start putting a pace on him. When you look at Havner, his wins pretty quick, right? The Daniel Bollet fight, 26 seconds into the second round. His last fight was Zach Colvin, 29 seconds into the first round, falling fluke choke. It's when he gets extended and he starts to get hit, that's when you realize, oh, he is a grappler. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. That's why there's a long length in his MMA resume, because he went back to jiu-jitsu. And that Garrett Sharp fight, mind you, Garrett Sharp's a stud. The guy's very talented, good fighter. To quit between rounds shows you that when the pressure gets on him and the heat gets going, that's the path of victory. So Riggs is going to have a tough first round, but I think he could be able to grind it out later. Meanwhile, I think that the early going is probably going to be towards Andrew Havner with the jiu-jitsu advantage. And again, this is a dog or pass fight. This is excellent matchmaking. Tim, you did a fantastic job. It's tough to see who's got the edge because it's striker versus grappler. If the striker is able to implement his game plan and use that superior striking ability, then yeah, he probably breaks Havner down the stretch. If Havner is able to get this fight to the ground, and I do think he's going to be able to do so early, he should have some more success. He also has a pro debut against David Lewis that got canceled a couple months ago, so it's not as if he's been out at the gym. It's not as if he's been on the sidelines. He has been gearing up for this one moment, and different opponent, obviously, tough opponent as well. But I think I would say dog or pass. So ever so slightly, I'm going to go with Andrew Havner, and I'm also going to take the over 1.5 in this spot.
That over is kind of what stood out to me as well. Jeff, wrap us up on this one.
Sure, man. I don't know if it would make a difference in Cody's thought process if he knew that there's a kegerator inside of a nice guy submission.
Yeah.
And Havner usually likes to end a good hard practice with a nice little draft. But yeah, we all have known kind of over the years that Riggs's bugaboo has been his takedown defense. But I will say that's also the main thing in that Dan Bailey fight that we just saw, recently, that he improved so much on. So there is some improvement there. I think the fact that Havner is even money kind of also shows, how much that BJJ pedigree is kind of, on people's minds. So just like Cody said, man, it was great matchmaking. Very evenly matched. This is one I'm actually excited about. Been excited to see this debut for Havner, and always have been excited these last few months, seeing the improvements that have come from Riggs just from that time at Shield Systems with Holtzman, Damir Farhabagovic, and that whole crew. Lots of growth there. So great matchup.
Let's get to this main event. This is what we came for, man. This is a fight that we've been looking forward to for a while. For our first ever Aries professional title, 170 pounds, 2 undefeated guys going to go at it. We've got David Ruthless Robbins taking on Trevor Peek. David Robbins 7-0, 1-no contest, and Trevor Peek 3-0, 1-no contest. 90% finishing rate between these guys. We don't see the judges very often, and it's very much I think that your layman can break this one down. I don't think your layman can pick a winner so easy, but it's very easy to see that this is a kind of your technical fighter versus just your uber aggressive motherfucker that will just come for your head and won't stop. Of course, we've got American Killer Bees, the camp for David Robbins. He is the head coach at that satellite school up in Kentucky, but he himself under Israel Gomez. And then, of course, we've got Agogi Combatives, the new team for Trevor Peek. He just started there about a month ago after training with a smaller group down in Alabama. We'll go to Greg first. Greg, you've been in firsthand in there with Trevor Peek. You fought 4 tough rounds with him as an amateur. You know what he's about. You've trained, enrolled, and sparred with David as well. Excited to get your take on this one first.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I went hard with both guys. Me and Trevor, I was not expecting Trevor Peek to come out of the mountains of Alabama and be the kid that he is. That is a hard-nosed, tough son of a bitch right there. And if you're taking him lightly, you took him, and didn't come correct. You took him wrong, as I did, because when I fought He was 1-2, and since then he's been on a warpath, including a win over me right there. So he, going against David Ruthless Robbins right here, and in that video, that promo video that Aries made, Trevor said, if you want to see Ruthless, I'll show you Ruthless. Because anyone on that end of it. Now, being that said, I've gone on some really, really tough rounds with David Robbins in the room, and David used to have these really huge, oven mittens. I swear they were like pillows, and even when he hit you with those, it was tough. They was really hard hits. So this is just going to be a class war. And I can't tell you how many messages I've got in my inbox. And I know, sidebar, who's going to win, Greg? I know you're tight with both of them. You're good with both of them. I'm like, bro, for the first time in a long time, I really don't have a fucking clue. I don't know. Do you think it's going to go 1 round, 2 rounds? I don't know. Like, I have no idea. This is a phenomenal fight. It happened, just happened. And I'm excited about it. This is one I'm ready to hear this guy break it down right here.
Well, the odds on this one, I should say, I didn't mention that earlier. David Robbins, a slight favorite, minus 135 with a comeback on Trevor Peek, plus 110, negligible odds there. Total, it's even money either way, over under 1.5 rounds. Neither of these feel like anything that I would feel super confident betting the trailer on. Cody, what's your take?
Yeah, I know. I wanted the over 1.5 for sure, but whenever Trevor Peek enters the cage, he's not fighting for an over 1.5, man. This guy is absolutely a shit-eating wild man, comes at you, physical specimen, absolute beast. He reminds me of actually one of my favorite fighters, a young green version of one of my all-time favorite fighters. And of course, you guys got to get behind him, Tennessee's own Nate Landwehr. I mean, he's a wild man. He comes at you, and sometimes he makes mistakes. Sometimes maybe the technique isn't quite there. The pure aggression is something that guys have a very difficult time dealing with. When you look at, say, his pro record, very young so far, but his pro debut is a no contest. This Stephen Wilhite straight out quits, man. I mean, he get grazed in the cup, and he just looks at the ref like, no, cut me out of here. Because it's an incidental low blow, it ends up being a no contest. But you can see where Trevor Peek just breaks him mentally. This next fight with Darnell Truett, that's a KO of the year candidate, man. He absolutely leaves the man stiff. Power like that, something you don't see all the time. It's these next 2 fights that are ultra impressive. For me, Chris Mims is a high-level striker. I mean, the guy competed for Lion Fight. He's got good Muay Thai. And you see the outside low kick working extremely well. But Peek just stays in his face. He doesn't let up. He's relentless. And eventually he breaks Mims down, gets him in the clinch, nails some nasty knees to the head, and puts him away. And then finally this Ben Brewer fight. Ben Brewer starts off very well. Very well. Striking, looks on point. Small little tiny bull ring of a cage they're fighting in. And he's able to take Trevor Peek down. He has some success standing. But Trevor Peek just muscles his way out of things. Like Derek Lewis. Is his ground game tight and technical? No. But he's so physically strong when he decides, I'd like to get up now, he seemingly gets up. And there's another fight with Ben Brewer where Ben gets tired and Peek gets on top and he's able to pound him out. So his will has so far been able to just carry him past opponents. But what he's running into here in David Robbins is a far superior technician. I mean, you want to talk about ground game, he is a BJJ black belt under Israel Gomez. Israel Gomez, of course, famous for his work with Anderson Silva. So the lineage is there. The training is there. I'm not super stoked that he's running his own academy simply because who's pushing him? He's the war dog. He's the war horse in the gym. He's the heavy loader guy. Who's pushing him? Because I'll tell you something, finding a Trevor Peek to get rounds in with, very difficult. How do you find someone to replicate Trevor Peek and what he brings to the table? I think Peek, sky's the limit for him. He's only 26 years old. He's at a new gym now, by the way. He's going to be getting better rounds in, better training partners. I'm not sure how much 1 month will change. I just mean for progression's sake, Peek could be on a contender series. He could be on a Bellator undercard. He could make it to the UFC within the next, 3-4 fights, let's say. There's something there. For Robbins, meanwhile, certainly something there as well. It's that he kind of derailed his own career for 2 years with a bit of a drug habit. So when you look at skill, he's got the BJJ. He's got superior Muay Thai. He's got a better amateur pedigree. This guy went the distance with Benjamin Bennett in an amateur fight. Like, holy Christ, he's tough. This is a good, well-pedigreed amateur. And then as far as his pro career goes, you guys see his Muay Thai. You see that devastating body kick that he likes to put out. He's got a good overhand right. His wrestling is his key. No good. Doesn't seem to have much offensive wrestling. Doesn't seem to have much defensive wrestling. He comes off a 2-year-long hiatus. We saw him his last time out against Corey Delaney. Even Corey Delaney with a blast double leg just plows into his back. Now he gets away with throwing up a triangle choke in that spot. But if Trevor Peek comes out and blast doubles him and puts him on his back, entirely possible. Submitting this animal of a man, not quite as easy. So It's going to come down to a test of wills. It's a 5-round fight, and I think that's where it's going to come. I don't know that it goes full 5, but I think that it's going to go a hard 1 or 2 rounds, and then beyond that, it's going to come down to, is Robbins' cardio up to snuff? Is he able to take advantage of a sloppy guy in Peak, or is Peak just going to want it more? Because so far, Peak wants it more, and that's a dangerous, dangerous thing. He outwills his opponents. I can flip-flop and go back and forth in this spot. I think ever so slightly, I am going to go David Robbins. The fact that he had a 2-year hiatus because of a methamphetamine addiction, not real that much of a deal breaker. I mean, you have seen notable guys in the UFC such as Matt Brown, Ian McCall, Court McGee, Jared Gordon, all of which died of a drug overdose, came back to life, got their lives clean, rededicated themselves, and had flourishing careers. So I think that Robbins could very much be the same thing. He's been sober for 8 months. He's got his return fight in the books. He shook some of that ring rust off. You should see a better version of him. But Trevor Peak, man, that's something very difficult to deal with. The last thing I will say is that this fight's at 170, and I think that does favor towards Trevor Peak. I mean, his last fight was a catchweight of 178. The guy's big, strong, physical man. Robbins, meanwhile, when you see him fight at lightweight, he's cut, good shape, good physicality. When you see him fight at these catchweights of 65 and 170, he's a lot softer around the midsection. And that's all just going to play towards Trevor Peak going out there and trying to truck him over. But I'm a firm believer that skill should outbeat power in the end. Not always, definitely not always. But, you're going to catch a guy eventually if you've got the skill. Robbins looks like he's got the skill. So I think that Robbins takes him out sometime later in the second round, maybe into the third round. But again, Tim, excellent matchmaking, very good headliner, very good fight. A fight like this could end up on any card. This is on a Bellator undercard. Again, I don't think it looks out of place in the slightest bit. You've got 2 talented guys. And beyond credit to the matchmaking here is credit to both guys for taking the fight. Trevor Peak's a listed 3-0. He doesn't need to take this David Robbins fight. This is a tough fight, but he wants it because he wants to develop. And he wants to prove himself. And he wants to be that junkyard dog. And credit to him. Robbins, meanwhile, when you're 7-0 and you've got a contender series offer and you got a good management company, you got eyes looking at you, you don't want to take this guy. Like, whoa, he's only got a 3-0 record. Nobody knows who he is, and he's a problem, right? So credit to both guys. Very, very excited for this one, and I will be doing my damnedest to tune in, that's for sure.
Oh, we'll make sure we get you a link for sure, my man. Jeff, wrap us up on this main event.
Man, it's worth the price of admission. If this were the only fight on the card, seriously, I don't think we'd have a single person in that building complain if we just kind of partied until the main event and brought these 2 guys out.
And at this rate with the COVID, it may be.
It possibly may be, but I got my work cut out for me, keeping everybody entertained. But man, I don't know. It's so exciting. I can't wait for it. Both these guys have something to prove. We've talked to both of them time and time again. Robbins is quote unquote the skill guy. Peak wants to show that he's got just as much skill. Peak is the dog, and David's goal is to show people I can be a dog too. So it's just going to be a matter of, who gets their shit off on Friday night. Like I said, that on a 5-round fight, that 1.5 line right there, it's there for a reason, and it's because that power that Peak shows at the snap of a fingers, this thing could be over. So it's, man, I can't wait.
That'll do it for our betting preview, guys. We can catch our odds at Action 24/7 or at BetMGM. If you go to Action 24/7 and use promo code Aries, you can get a 100% match bonus up to $400, so you can bet on the fights with us and hopefully win some money out there. Cody, you can follow him at CJ Saftic on Twitter. I would certainly suggest you do that because your wallet will thank you here in the long run. I think catch his podcast there on Mayo Media Network as well as his own channel CJ MMA, and he'll always entertain you and give you some good picks. Cody, man, thanks so much for joining us. The pleasure is ours, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. It was awesome hearing that outside perspective, man, and we'll make sure we get you a link so you can check out these fights Friday night, my man.
Hell yeah, man. You guys are doing some awesome stuff between Valor and now Aries. I think that you guys are doing an awesome job of just showcasing these guys from Tennessee. And of course, casual fans will know the names Avin St. Preux or Luke Sanders. Of course, my boy Nate Landwehr, Scott Holtzman. Yeah, Ronnie Lawrence. There's a plethora. Michael Chandler's living in Nashville now. I've seen these guys own gyms. So And Crump, my boy Crump, coming out of that
He's from
gym.
there,
So
yeah.
he's an 8-1 favorite for a reason. Tennessee's doing an awesome job, and you guys are being able to profile and showcase these guys, give them a platform, and of course, competitive matchmaking, good stuff all around. I think there's something really good going on here. And eventually, the way it works with betting lines is that once these other books start noticing, oh, MGM's picking it up, other books are taking notice, then you're going to start seeing them go across the platform. So I urge you, if you're a fan of me and you're tuning in to see what I had to say here, do me a favor. Definitely give these guys a like on YouTube. Second of all, if your book doesn't offer Aries, show them other books are picking it up and request it. The more people that request it, they will pick it up. And that's just only going to be good for business for everybody. And of course, now we can bet them as well. So thanks for having me on the show. I would definitely love to join you guys the next time. So give me a holler.
Hey, we'll take you up on that offer for sure. For Jeff Hobbs and Cody Saftic and Greg Hopkins, I'm Tim Lloyd. We're signing out for another edition of the 0 Hour. We'll catch y'all next time.
See you guys.